You can go from one corner to the bottom corner and just kind of skim diagonally and can get the gist of what's being said because she can kind of pick up on the main kanji.
In order to know what the person is meaning, you'd have to listen to the person until the end.
And they use keigo, and I feel like, oh, thank you so much. Oh, I feel like really like respected, right?
今日は外国人が好きな日本語の素晴らしい特徴について話してみるよ。Let's find out! こんにちは、全人類と友達になる男、僕がミスター富士です。そして僕がマリノンです。
アンナです。
アロンです。
そうです。
今日のテーマは外国人が思う日本語の素晴らしい特徴について。皆さん日本語ペラペラですよね。
もう
ママ勉強欲しいです。ママ、お母さん、ママ
よく YouTube でそんな面白くないこと言えるね。恥ずかしくない？これ残るんですよ。
まだまだですよ。
みんなね、日本に結構住んで長いかな。
まあまあ
パパ
みんなね、もう結構日本語ペラペラなんですよ。
まだ
いや、
根拠は
根拠はって聞けてる時点でペラペラなのよ。みんなと話してたら、みんなの国の言葉にはない、素晴らしい特徴があるっていうから、今日はそれをみんなに聞いていきたいと思います。それでは行ってみましょう。あるよって人。
Here!
OK。
So like in Japanese, usually there's a lot of bad words like so, and then those aren't really bleeped on Japanese television. They're usually just shown to kids, you know? But inside of America, if you say of the word of the same caliber, let's say you say I'm gonna your grandpa. It's gonna be bleeped out for sure, right? Because those hold more weight and extent. And Japanese is just more prettier in that way, right?
Yeah. It's almost cute in a way.
Almost.
Right.
Like I don't feel threatened if someone says like, "Oh, omae kuso yaro." It's like, ah,
It's like-
yes.
I think I might be. Yeah, you're right.
確かにね。
英語に比べて汚い言葉が少ないってことね。
Yes.
Yeah.
でもさ、日本語にもそのバカ野郎とかあるわけじゃん。
インパクト全然違うでしょ。
Right.
じゃあその日本語のバカって英語の例えばどんな感じの言葉？
I guess the equivalent word, say baka or whatever, right? Stupid, idiot, whatever.
Right.
But that's not even that, like, that's not so bad of a word, right?
You have
But
like a pencil compared to a sword.
But like, baka is like the extent, right? This is like top, baka, right? But English is like, this is like level 1,
Right.
right? But baka is already level 10 in Japan,
Yeah.
you know? But then, so if you want to go level 2, it's like, moron,
Yeah.
3 is like, f***ing idiot. And then you start compounding words together and you're like, f***ing stupid f***ing idiot, right? You can and you just keep going from there. You
The
can just keep
more
stacking
curse
them.
words you add, you know, the
Yeah.
heavier the words have weight.
Right, but like you can't be like, baka kuso, like it sounds stupid.
Right.
この動画ピーピーピーばっかでわけわからない。考えてみたけど、多分一番汚い言葉でクソ野郎みたいなのが日本の限界だと思う。
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
That's like the worst word that exists in the Japanese language?
もっと多分汚い言葉はあるけど、実際にその言葉を喧嘩の時とかに使ったらなんかめちゃくちゃ普通使わない言葉だからプフって笑っちゃうみたいな。
Oh.
何それ面白い。
That's so true, huh? Yeah, because nobody uses it. You've just never heard that in your life, right?
Yeah. You know, I think it's kind of an interesting thing, right? The fact that Japanese has something called keigo, right?
Yeah.
A language that has such a very polite, formal section of the language doesn't have a lot of bad words, right? Whereas English doesn't really have this like formal
Keigo,
level
yeah.
of language, and yet they have all these terrible words you can throw at each other, right?
What about お怒りになりました? Like if you're saying like the boss got angry, like お怒りになりました. Is that kind of like wataguchi? But you're just saying like, oh, our boss is pissed off. But you try to do it in keigo in like a nice way?
まあ言い方によるんじゃない。バカにして言ったらお怒りになられましたよとかって言い方したらちょっとバカにしてる感じはあるけど、普通はそんな悪いネガティブな意味ですよね。
You're kind of saying like a 皮肉
あ、そうね。敬語を使って皮肉は 言えるかもしれないね、でもなんかそれでも汚い言葉とかじゃないからダイレクトにするんじゃなくてちょっと遠回しにするイギリス流みたいなイメージ
逆にそっちの方が怖い気がするな。
But sometimes you might not get it, right?
中国語にはさ汚い言葉ってあるの、
めっちゃあるよ。
それは日本語よりも全然汚いってこと？
方言の方は結構あるんですよ。めっちゃ汚い。
Like?
例えば広東語はめっちゃやばいんですよ。広東語の悪口ね、映画で出たの言葉はほとんど悪口ですよ。
Like even if they're just having a regular conversation?
It's just like
英語と同じぐらいなんかなんちゃらなんちゃら。香港にいたら絶対わかる。普通にみんなの言葉に入ってる。
What? Oh my
Okay.
god.
じゃあ英語と同じくらい普通にみんな使うんだ、汚い言
普通に
葉。
使う。
so. I think the very good thing about Japanese, and I think Chinese has this characteristic too, is that the fact that it has kanji, right? And each character has like a symbolic meaning attached to it, and so it makes it really easy to read, right? You can kind of run through it really quickly, right? Yeah, it's kind of pretty much you're reading pictures basically, right?
Right.
It is from picture though.
You're right. They're characters in the picture.
So like in English, like I'm a decently fast reader, but like the fastest readers can only read so fast, right? You still have to read through almost every line. Even like, I mean, you can skim, but you have to kind of go through every single word to some degree, right? To kind of get the gist of what's being said. And especially for more dense academic material, you have to know each word really matters, and the word order really matters, right? But the fact that kanji is symbolic, right? It has a meaning baked into the character and shape itself, makes it really easy to skim through really quickly, right? So say for example, if you're reading a newspaper, Japanese newspaper, everything was written in hiragana.
Oh
And
no.
that'd be really
Yeah.
right? It would take so long, right?
It'd be like a dictionary.
Yeah.
You have to read a dictionary to read the newspaper.
Yeah. Like not only would it be actually long, but it would just to even know what word is being said, it would be really hard, right? Because there's so many kanji that have the same reading, but the meaning is completely different, right? Because the character is completely different, right? So an example, my mom, who's Japanese, she's fluent in both English and Japanese, and we were taking a family trip to Himeji Castle one time, and they have like the information on like the whatever about the castle, or whatever.
Right.
I'm obviously reading the English because it's easier for me, and my mom who's fluent in both, I asked her which one she reads, and she said, "Oh, the Japanese, of course." And I asked why. And she says that instead of English, we have to go like this, read through every line. She can go from one corner to the bottom corner and just kind of skim diagonally and can get the gist of what's being said because she can kind of pick up on the main kanji and just be like, okay, this paragraph. Yeah, this paragraph is about this kind of thing. It's really easy to skim really quickly, which I find kind of funny because the learning curve for kanji, especially for Japanese learners, is so high, right? But once you get past that hump, reading becomes so much easier.
Right.
考えたことなかった
あんまり読んでないことね。
みんなほど頑張らなくてもスラスラ読めちゃうそりゃそうや日本人じゃん
I feel there is a pattern with people who learn Japanese because at first you learn hiragana, right? And when you know only hiragana, it's like, my God, why is there so much kanji when you have this phonetic alphabet? Just only hiragana, right? But person who learns Japanese, once they get to a certain past a certain hurdle where they know just enough kanji to get by, they're like, I could never go back to only hiragana. Like I need the kanji now.
Yeah.
Like even if you don't know the actual reading of the kanji,
Yeah.
you can put together the shapes, right? Like if it has this radical whatever,
Yeah.
maybe it's about this type of thing, kind of thing, right?
You can tell by the pictures, right? Like those three little marks is like water.
It's
Right? So you can assume it has to do with something like
water related.
Yeah. It's like, oh, flush the toilet.
Yeah.
流すな流すな
I mean, English has some of that too, right? Like they have like prefixes and suffixes and whatnot, right?
Oh,
so
okay.
that can modify. a particular-
hydro.
Yeah, it has that. Or like if you have like the prefix sub, for example, it probably has to do something with like.
And
So second level.
Yeah.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
But that takes 3 letters.
But
or
yeah,
5 letters.
Yeah.
Instead of like 15 strokes.
Right.
Right.
Yeah, so I think it's funny because like you were saying, Anna, kanji is such a hurdle, right? And people think like this is so mendokusai. Why would I even bother trying to learn this when you can just write in everything in hiragana, right?
But wait, once you transcend into the world of kanji, everything can become so much easier.
辞書によって違うらしいんだけど、この漢字、
Ooh, gatekeeper.
確かにね、門の人だもんね。これ読み方が、物陰から急に飛び出して人を驚かせるときに発する声って読み方らしい。
Really?
What?
Oh my goodness.
知りません
That's not what I thought it was.
あとは、この漢字は普通にみんなが使う漢字で、この1文字で朝鮮人参。
Challenge carrot?
Challenge character.
Challenging carrot?
Challenging carrot.
Korean carrot.
Like he's a chosen,
No, chosen.
and ninjin carrot.
そう
That makes sense.
漢字でも4文字で書けるけど、1文字の漢字にしたらさっきの漢字になる。
Right, so kind of along the same lines, right? So imagine like a medical term or like engineering terminology, stuff like that. Like English, you'd have to write like long words for each thing.
Right.
Right, kanji, you just do like four
Exactly.
characters. And then you could convey the same meaning
Yeah.
in 4 characters. As opposed to in English, you have to write like a huge long like series of words together. You know what I mean?
Anti-disestablishmentarianism.
日本語で言ったら何なの
I don't know.
漢字の方が情報量が多いっていうのが日本語のいいところってことね。
Yes.
OK はい、次の人。
So hi. So since we were talking about kanji and things like that, I would go on the grammar part of the Japanese. So how in English you'd have the subject, verb, object, and it always has to be that
I like cheese.
way. Yeah, right. You can't say I cheese like, right? But in Japanese, that's how you say like 私はチーズが好き. When it comes to very long sentences, in order to know what the person is meaning, you'd have to listen to the person until the end. And it goes the same when you are saying something to someone, that the other person needs to listen to you until you actually finish your thought. Whereas in English, because the main part of the sentence is spoken at the very beginning, people might not listen to you until the end and just cut you off and try to respond fast to you.
Oh, that's a good point.
おー、すごいわ。確かにそうだ。なんかさ、いつも話途中で入り込んでくるから。やっぱアメリカ人ってこうなのかなって思ってたけど、まあそれもあるかもしれないけど、その言葉の仕組みもあるんだろうね。
Yeah.
だって最後まで聞かないと分かんないもんね。
例えば私はチーズが好きじゃない。
ああ、はいはい。だから最後まで
そう
それが好きなのか好きじゃないのかが分かんないから、この人は何を言ってるんだって聞かないといけないよね。でも英語だったら I don't like から始まるから I don't like チって言ったらチーズもう嫌いなんかってなるってことね。はあ、だから最後まで待つのか。
最後まで空気読めます
But don't you also think that like Japanese is a bit more forgiving when it comes to like grammar order? Whereas in English, like, you kind of have to have the subject at the beginning, the verb, and then the object, right? Whereas Japanese, like as long as you have like the verb at the end, like everything before that, you can kind of right? Like it wouldn't sound very good, but you can still get the meaning, right? As long as the important part is like the end, right? I think it's more forgiving that way for learners.
More free. Especially in spoken Japanese, like even particles, you can omit them. Whereas in English, you can't really omit anything, even when you're speaking. For example, I'll go to the store, right? You can't say I'll go the store. It's kind of like e or ni. You can omit that in Japanese.
Granted, it's faster if you go like, お腹すいた, if you go like, I'm hungry.
腹減った
Right?
Yeah.
In a way, like you don't have to say, I am お腹すいた.
例えば彼にコーラ渡したって聞くときって日本語だったらコーラ渡した？
渡してない
いやいやそう知らんけどで短くできるよね。でも英語で言おうと思ったらなんて言う？
Did you pass to him?
そうよね。Did you のあなたが彼にコーラを渡したかって全部いるってことだよね。
Because if you take away, it's like pass cola. It's like,
Yeah, exactly. You can't say that.
Pass to who?
Exactly. Pass to who?
Who and to where?
You need the shugo. You need the subject in order for it to make sense.
だから日本語の方がそこら辺を言わなくても通じるから楽。
efficient.
It is efficient.
It is very efficient, right?
Yes, yeah.
To explain things in Japanese. Yeah.
Yeah.
コスパが高い。
Yeah.
話がそれたけど最後まで話を聞くっていうので人のこの会話の割り込みがないってことね。
それで
Well, I mean, that's the way that English is designed, okay? Actually, glasses tip, okay? Like, if you don't speak that way in English and you're not consistently cutting each other off, then it doesn't flow in conversation and just one person is quiet the whole time. If one person is like quiet the whole time, it's like weird, right? I don't know. Like, you're in a
What do
conversation.
you mean by it? I don't know what you're talking about.
Exactly. I mean, I don't know. Like, you're talking
Wait,
about
wait,
people. Right, exactly. If you go like that the whole time, then if there's one person quiet, like Paul.
Okay, I'm just kidding.
But you know what I mean?
I know what you mean. I do know what you mean.
Yeah.
I have a friend, right? Nice guy. I like the guy. Sometimes he's a quiet guy. You know, and I'll be like, "Hey, buddy, what's up?" He'll be like, "No, not much."
Right.
And then it's like,
silence.
oh, "Okay."
Yeah, okay,
And then,
yeah.
right? Like there has to be some sort of like overlap between. Well, no, it doesn't have to be, right?
It doesn't have to be, but it does flow like that. Like how I just cut off Aaron, just like that. That's how easily it is to flow between conversations when you speak in English. But in Japanese, of course, you have to wait for them to finish the conclusion before you can
Right.
say your piece.
Right.
But you can, like, with what Aaron's saying, it's like you can kind of predict what they're trying to come to. This is why that people talk over each other.
Right, because all
Right.
the important information is top heavy, right? It's at the
Right.
beginning of the
Yeah.
sentence,
Right.
right? So you already know what's happening. So like, who cares what they're saying?
Exactly. You can
Yeah.
predict what they're going to say, so why waste time?
In English, you have the main part first and then the details, whereas in Japanese, you have the details and then the main part.
やっぱり英語は優しくなるよね。
No.
No,
なんかなんかちょっと気が弱くてなんかもうこれ喋ってもいいのかなって思ってる人が喋り始めたところで途中にバイオリンパーンってやるもう喋るのやめよう
Goodbye.
そうもう喋るのやめようってなるか
今日そうですよ。今日そうですよ。営業は。
らやだわ
せっかく勇気と貯めたのに。
英語にも日本語にもいいところがあるっていうところで、
そう
はい、それ言っとかないとなんか悪口言って
I have one more. Okay, the thing that I like about Japanese is that although it's hard for me to use it, when someone uses keigo to me, like I'm talking to someone at Starbucks or I'm talking to like a tennin-san or something like that, and they use keigo with me, I feel like, oh, thank you so much. Oh, I feel like really like respected, right? As opposed to like someone at like the convenience, "Hi, kuro." "Hi, kuro." "Iru? Ira?" And I'm just like, oh, that's like, oh, I don't want to say it. Or something like that. I'm like, oh, yes. You know? And it's like really, really nice. And I feel like, yes,
Appreciated.
And I'm like, I feel appreciated, you know? And I kind of I can tell, like, they're not using it. They're having like a bad day. They're always like smiling. They use keigo. You know, you have a pleasant experience. And you're like, oh, I'll go there again.
英語ってさ全然ないの
Well, it's just because like there is no like omotenashi as much as there is in Japan, right? If you go to a person at a konbini, depending on like how much their GQ, alright, yeah, $10. Alright, here's your change. You want a receipt? No? Okay, fine.
All
そ
right.
れバイオだけじゃないの
No, Aaron can attest to
Yeah,
that for sure. Depending if you're going to like a high-end restaurant, let's say you're going to a 5-star, they're gonna like, oh, would you like some more, sir? Here's more water for you, sir. Right? And they treat you with respect because you're paying more money and you're tipping.
And that's the thing. I think that's a huge part of it,
Yes.
right? Because your behavior or your tip is so dependent on your behavior that you have to pull out all the stops
Right.
to get the maximum. You would draw the tip out of them. You know what I
Exactly.
mean?
I don't have to
So-
tip Japanese staff for them to use keigo with me.
Right. So even if you act like a head,
Right.
right, at McDonald's for example, you're not getting tips anyway.
No,
So
exactly.
you can act like a head and then it's okay.
Exactly.
Right. But if you're at a restaurant where there's a tipping system involved, you have to be like, how's it going today? But like you're so nice.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. So they're being nice to you because they know that they're gonna get more money
Right.
for you.
It's not like a atarimai, like a
Right.
relationship between like customer and staff,
Right.
right? Whereas in North America where tipping cultures are involved, there is a motive underneath it.
Exactly.
Right.
That determines the interaction.
Uh-huh.
Right?
Yes.
日本のサービスの良さの話になってきてるけどね
But it's
But it's
relevant.
connected
It's
to it.
relevant.
そうね
The
そうね
language, yeah.
で
敬語の意識が。
そうねまず英語には敬語みたいなのがあるの
ない
Would you みたいな
Alright, I guess so. To an
Not
extent. To an
really.
extent.
ちょっとはあるってことね
But the thing is with Keigo is like you use different words, right? Whereas like with in like a restaurant, let's say, it's more of like an attitude thing. Would you say?
Yeah, I guess so.
It's more an attitude thing, or like delivery. In Keigo, you use like completely different words compared to casual speech, let's say, right? But like at a restaurant, I mean, depending on the restaurant, you can still use casual speech. But if your delivery is really friendly and welcoming, then that's like still Keigo, English Keigo, I guess if you want to call it.
Right. Imagine if you had to pay money for someone to speak Keigo to you. It
Yeah.
doesn't feel good, right?
Doesn't feel-
Welcome to
yeah.
America.
Welcome to America.
日本は敬語を使うのが当たり前っていうベースなの。
Yeah.
そうそう、スタートが当たり前だから、なんか頑張ってやってるというよりは、それをしないといけないよね。だから、
I like I do that in the elevator, right? Like, 何回行かれますか? You know, I just do that, and then like someone has said that to me before, so I try to do the same thing.
英語でエレベーターで何階まで行くかって聞くときどうやって？
What floor?
No, okay.
Yeah.
Well,
Well, I think like English is just like an assumed equal thing. It's like
Correct.
you assume that everyone's on the same level, so there's no need to have like Keigo, I guess, right? If you're interacting with strangers.
English feels like this, and then Japanese feels like me. No me. No me. No me. No me. No me. You.
Okay, you.
確かに。
Right.
Right.
たまにはすごいこと言うね。
Whereas English is more like no me.
Right. Japanese.
That's what you do when you do the kanpai with the person who's like higher up than you. Like you try to go less and you just go less and less and less.
It's a race to the bottom.
Yeah.
So, you have to hold the bottom of the
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or like pouring the drinks for other people.
When I kanpai, I just.
Got it.
はい、終わります。
Anyway.
はい、ということで今日は外国人が好きな日本語の素晴らしさについて話してみました。
どうだった？
どうだった？
素晴らしい
How was it? It was our Mason towards your Mason.
あ、私？
Yes.
私の目線ね。
Yeah.
別に英語と日本語混ぜるのやめてくれ。
Yeah, what did you think of our opinions?
Yeah.
敬語って今までずっと面倒くさいなって思ってたよ。英語いいなって、英語だってさ、敬語とかなくてすぐ仲良くなれる感じがしていいなって思ってたけど、確かにこうやって言ったらしんどいから、なんかこっちの方が相手をよいしょってこう上げてあげられるっていうのをいい日本語の素晴らしさなんだなって僕は思いました。はい。皆さんが思う日本語の素晴らしさあればコメント欄にどしどし書いてください。
はい、悪い言葉を教えてください。
いや、ないね。
いや、あってもね、書かないでください。それでは次の動画でまたお会いしましょう。バイバイ。
バイバイ。
じゃん。
登録
おね。
返します